Hi guys, I'm back again with another video. It's not going to be a promo at the moment. I'm going to try and do the next promo, which I believe will be Frozen Black. That's the one that I've been wanting to do for a while. That'll be the last one that I do in the US Black Metal series because the band I wanted to do for the last one, I was going to do it as an album launch thing to give them promotion for the new album, but I do not know when the new album's going to be out. So I'll just do that at some point in the not too distant future. But anyway, I'm digressing. This is basically a response video to a friend of mine who's also a writer for Metal Temple. She's writing an article, or it might even turn into a vlog, about music journalism and the upsides of it. And basically, she's asking a few questions about music journalism, and I'm just going to try and answer them as hopefully as succinctly as possible, because otherwise this will go on forever. I can go on and ramble. So just to give a bit of background, obviously, as a lot of you know, I write for Metal Temple. I write reviews and do interviews and occasionally do live shows. I've stopped doing that at the moment because I'm in the process of moving house. I'm moving out of here sometime in the next fortnight, and that's kind of eating up my time. Also since May of this year, I've worked for Rage Breed nightclub. The website, they have a band of the month, which is basically I'll get given a review to do, and then I will review a band that I like as well, and we'll do different stuff. I'll do interviews for them, and I also write for Get Your Rock Out, doing reviews, and I'm hopefully going to be doing an interview at some point in the future. But obviously, even though I only have about just under a year and a half experience as a journalist, it basically is going to give me I got a lot of experience already because I obviously work for free things. So basically, that's my background in music journalism. So I'll just get on to the questions because there's 5. And the first question is, why did you want to start taking part in music journalism? Basically, it's more stems out of I've always wanted to write. I've always been one of these people who's wanted to take part in. I've always wanted to take part in anything that I get involved in on some level. If I'm like, and I've for years, even like I started reading Enemy about 9 years ago, moved on to Kerrang, and then obviously Metal Hammer, Terrorizer, Iron Fist, other stuff like that, Zero Tolerance, and a lot of smaller zines and online mags. And I kind of wanted to do some writing, but for a while I was kind of like thinking about it, like, do I want to go and do this? And will I be good enough? And then it all kind of came about when I was doing my, for those of you who don't know, about a year and a half ago, I graduated from, I finished university. So I have a history degree. I have a 2-1 in history. And I was looking through my I was working through my dissertation to make sure it made sense. And I was getting people to proofread it. And all the feedback I got wasn't about the argument, like you need to put a little bit more here or whatever. It was this is really well written, like you'd be a good writer. And I started thinking about it, and then one day in early May, while I was waiting for some exams to start before I finished university, and basically I just posted something on Facebook saying, does anybody have any advice on how to get into music journalism? A friend of mine called Mike Lewis gave me some he kind of gave me some advice, and it was really, really good, the advice that he gave me. He asked me to do a short review to check it out and see if there was anything that I could do, and he gave me a lot of advice on feedback on how to improve on that, and that helped. And then another friend of mine called James Dean, that is his real name. he was at that point leaving Metal Temple, and he said they're always looking for new writers. So I'll give you the email for the editor, who's a guy called Leo, and he'll and basically. What happened from that was I sent an email, and obviously just under a year and a half, so about a year and a half later, I'm still doing it. I'm getting really involved in it. I want to turn this into something to become professional with it. And yeah, that was kind of how I started with music journalism. It was just me kind of wanting to take part in writing, but I wanted to do something that could help other people in bands and promotions. The same reason why I do YouTube videos. I basically want to promote good music while trying to get my own profile, while trying to build my profile and hopefully get noticed by a big magazine who will pay me lots of money for but anyway, I'm digressing. So what are the perks of being a music journalist? There's a lot. One thing I will say is, if at the beginning you start writing for an online mag or something like this, like Metal Temple or Get Your Rock Out or any of the other stuff, if you're looking into it as like I'm going to go and get a wage, I'm going to do this or that or the other, you might be sadly disappointed. The vast majority of places, if you have no experience, you will you're not good unless you were somehow magically end up writing for something like Metal Hammer or Enemy. You're probably not going to get a wage from it at first. So but the perks of it aren't monetary. It's more the material and the opportunities that you get. That it's obviously made my life a lot more interesting over the last year and a half. Like I'd say, definitely you get introduced to some really great music. You get to a lot of it is sometimes the bands will share the music around. They'll share the music around, but then also on the YouTube and on their Facebook pages, they'll put reviews up, and it's nice, especially when it's a band that you love, and you do a review for some of their stuff, and then you see something that you've written on their Facebook page. It's like that's a great feeling. Interviews, they can be stressful, but it's really cool to sit down and see the other side. Especially with black metal, there's a lot of sides to black metal where you'll essentially it's a very dark, mysterious kind of music, and when you get to the other side of the curtain and get to see what they're like backstage, what they're like as people, it's really quite interesting to sort of see them out of the element of being on stage or just being some dark face hiding behind a hood and thing on an album cover or in a magazine. It's really quite interesting to sort of see that side of it. Obviously, there's another. The vast majority of online mags, what they'll do is if you want to cover shows, you ask what show to cover. I personally don't cover a lot of shows because I have a lot of my social anxiety can play up, and then that can make those kind of situations a bit stressful. And yeah, that's there's all that kind of stuff. So, but if you do live stuff, the vast majority of the time you'll get a press pass, which means you'll get in for free, or you'll get in for a massively discounted price. You obviously get to go backstage and talk to the bands, and if it's a band that you love, it's a really, like I said, it's a really cool thing to see what it's like backstage, see how everything runs. So those, I think, there's a lot of perks, but they're the main perks, really. Obviously, you get experience as well, and potentially, if you do want to do something professionally, if you are good enough at it, fingers crossed, you might end up writing for someone like Metal Hammer or Terrorizer. Like I said, what's the hardest part? And obviously, I've just touched on it. For me, it's different for I guess it'll be different for each person. But the hardest part for me is live shows and stuff like that, and that's not really anything down to me not having the ability or anything. It's more my own issues with anxiety, and I'm getting a bit panicky about stuff, and there's a lot of stuff that goes into doing live shows, and there's so much room for error. Like, obviously you'll have to have a photographer, and you just kind of on the day you're like, obviously you're terrified for the the interview. If it's a big band, you're like, oh god, how is this going to go down? And you're hoping that the photographer arrives on time. You're hoping the press pass has gone through. You're hoping that the interview's organised. You're hoping the interview goes well. You're hoping that everything turns out all right, and then that you can get all the stuff written in the deadline on top of writing reviews. So that can be, for me, that's not my strong point. So I tend to try, and I'll do interviews, but live stuff can really, like, I do it on occasion, but I try to avoid doing it like on a weekly basis or anything. I'll try and do it like once a month maybe. I think the next one I'm doing, is next month, but that should be pretty cool, because I think I'm not actually I won't say, because it's I don't want anything to come back and, like, but that's for me, that's the hardest bit, but I guess that it's different for each person. So personally, what's your best music journalist achievement so far? That's the fourth question, and I'm going to go with two, actually. One of them was an interview that I did with Marduk. I interviewed Morgan Harkinson, who's the founding guitarist, and especially for me, somebody who's like listened to black metal for about 5 or 6 years and really been massively engrossed in it and been obsessed with it for a long time. It's really cool to meet a band that you've admired for a while and get to speak to them about stuff and ask them questions. And that is, I don't think the interview necessarily was the best I've done. Unfortunately, the best interview I've ever done got lost. I recorded it on my phone. It was about 35 minutes long. It was brilliant, and then my phone malfunctioned, and I lost the interview. Like I said, there's a lot of margins for error for stuff. So the band in question is a band I like, so I'm going to do a promo for them at some point in the not too distant future. It's a band called Gods of Hellfire. But the Morgan Harkinson one was the biggest interview I've done, and I've interviewed Chris Boltondahl from Gravedigger, and that was quite interesting because I interviewed him over Skype, and that was quite I'm sat in my living room waiting for the singer of Gravedigger to basically call me. That sort of stuff is really cool. I've interviewed Dragon Force. That was great. I'm trying to think who else. I've interviewed quite a few people. I interviewed Alan Averill from Primordial, and I'm a massive Primordial fan. I've been a massive Primordial fan for a good 5 years. I've been obsessed with their music and the especially the lyrics and the way that it's all conveyed and the way that he has all that power on stage. So getting to sit with him, especially I was sat in the back interviewing him, and he'd given me a beer, and I was sat at the back, and I'm like, I'm drinking a beer with like one of my idols. It's really, really bizarre. It's the same thing happened when me and Mike Coyle, who writes for Metal Temple as well, we interviewed Entombed AD, and that was the same. It was like in your head, you sat there with a beer, sort of having a drink, interviewing this person. You're like, this guy wrote the guitar lines for Left Hand Path, like an album that completely shifted the way people think about death metal. It's like, and I'm just sat here casually having a beer with him and talking to him about his career. It's like, whoa. It's really, really weird. You get a lot of surreal experiences like that. But the other big ones for me, I take a lot of pride in the reviews I write, and I put a lot of effort in, and I'm always really hard on myself, especially if it's a band like, say, I'm not the biggest brutal or technical death metal fan, and I'll get the occasional ones that when I see them, I'm like, oh god, like this is going to be so bad, like, because the music might be okay, but I just cannot get invested in it at all. So I'll just be like, I'll write some. I like to put a lot of effort in, but obviously, if you aren't invested in the music and excited about the music, it's going to show in your writing. So that kind of those can be a bit hard. Those sort of ones can be a bit hard. But I've done an Inquisition done a write up for an Inquisition reissue, the new Forest of Stars album. A band called Dead Space. They did their debut album's called The Promise of Oblivion, and I am actually, just off the strength of that, I'm gonna do a promo at some point in the future, because that was an incredible album, and the review I wrote for it, I think, is the single best thing I've written review wise. So that's my second big achievement as far as I'm concerned. I also did a review for another band I'm going to do a review for on here called Angmare, and that got shared around quite a bit because I really like the music. I know the guy behind it. It's a one-man black metal band, so it's really kind of it was like to hear that album and push it out and sort of like do a review and then have people share it around. It's like, whoa, like in your head you're like, God, like this is just something I wrote on my computer in about 3 or 4 hours. Just kind of casually sat down, listened to the album, and wrote what I thought, and then looked over it to make sure there was no mistakes or anything, or it all read well. And it's getting and a lot of people are seeing it, so it is. So those are the sort of achievements I kind of look at. The next question, this is the last one. What advice would you give to anyone considering a career in music journalism? Well, I would go for there's a lot of things I would advise. Obviously, whatever language you happen to be writing in, make sure you have a good command of it. Just because, obviously, especially if you want to turn it into something professional, because that could because obviously if you do some really good, well-written stuff, it's more likely to get shared around. Obviously, if people notice it, they're more likely to pay attention to it. And like I said, it's not just a case of, oh, I'm okay at spelling. It's you have to be able, you have to know grammar, punctuation, need to know the right places to stick all that. You need to know stuff like English theory, stuff like adjectives, the rule of 3, verbs, lexical fields, and try and expand your vocabulary. That's the thing that I do find that's so hard sometimes, especially when it's a death metal band. I'll be like, all right, what's another word for brutal? Oh God, it can be very hard. It can, but your vocabulary does improve after a while. You do learn how to find stuff. There's a lot of websites that have thesauruses on them that you can just use, and it'll take 2 minutes. But the biggest one for me, and I've seen I reckon a lot of people overlook this, and it's, for the love of God, research. It doesn't take that long, unless it's an insanely obscure band. It will not take you that long to review, to do the research for a review for an album. You might think that you're getting a new album, but it might be a compilation, it might be a reissue of an album that came out 20 years ago. It could be. So make sure you've got the right information, because you don't want to sit down to write an album and go this is the new album by blah blah blah, and then they go hang on, this is a 20th anniversary reissue of this album. What the hell's going on? Because obviously then you've got the information wrong, and there's not a very good chance of it getting re-edited once it's online, unless obviously you really put something in there that's really 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 bad, in which case it would probably most likely, I guess, it would be taken down or something, or someone would severely go through and just edit the hell out of it. But yeah, there's that. Definitely there was I'll give you one example of how doing research can really mess up a review. There was a review of Bloodstock this year, and there was just one mistake. It was pretty well written, but it talked about the new Belphegor album, Conjuring the Dead, which according to the review was due to come out at the end of August. It's actually been out. It's obviously actually been out for about a year, so that can, it can cause. It's been out for just over a year, so that can obviously, if people see that and notice that, they're more likely to share your review and go, he's got this wrong, or this person's got this wrong. And obviously, you don't want to be something to be shared around for the wrong reasons. So it could obviously, and you're more likely to get it shared around if it's accurate and it's to the point. What else? Like I've said, just obviously have a good command of English. I'm trying to think. Make sure, this is another thing that I think a lot of editors will ask you what music you want to listen to, like what you want to get given. So obviously with me it's black metal, but make sure that you know that style like the back of your hand to an extent, or you have quite a good knowledge of it, so then you can talk about the finer points of it. That's something that I think would be I'd say is very good advice. Make sure that, like, obviously you don't want to go in and write something and people be like, what the hell's this guy writing about? He's got no clue, like, or they've got no clue. You've got to make sure that you know stuff. And leading on from that point, there's another thing that I would say is try and avoid very generic words, like generic sort of phrases and terms. Like you might get occasionally you can use them, like if you write something in a review like this is brutal, or this is heavy, or this is crushing, or this is like brilliant, or this is really aggressive. It's like those are very generic terms. Like the word brutal, obviously people who like death metal and stuff like that will know that brutal is a term. I mean, it's a good sign, but somebody who might not have as much knowledge as you of that form of music might go, brutal's a bad. They might think brutal's a bad word. Oh, what the hell? Like, is it that bad? Because try and actually use descriptive terms rather than just, I guess, using words that could, like, just saying this is heavy. Don't just say this is heavy. Go into detail. Go, it's got melody. Say it's got melody. It's got good rhythm sections. The vocals work. There's a lot of hooks in the guitar parts and the bass parts, and there's different stuff like this. Because obviously you want to show that you've listened to the album, you've taken it into consideration, and written it down, and then written down what you think of it, and give an informed opinion. Try and listen to, if you can't listen to if you don't want to listen to every single song, make a point of listening to as much of the album as possible. I would personally advise listen to every song on the album. I know certain people who might just go, all right, I'll look at the intro track, the final track, the track before the final track, and any singles or anything like that. And they'll try and pick out the main songs, the best ones, and talk about them. And that can work for people, but obviously you might miss something by missing out one of those particular songs that let's just say there's 10 albums, there's 10 songs on an album. You could potentially say you did 7. The 3 that you that you ignore might be the standout tracks on the record, and the ones that are really interesting and different that you could write a lot of stuff about. So I would advise, definitely, like I said, so summary, research the hell out of it. Takes 5 minutes. All you got to do is go on Metal Archives or Google or something, and you'll pretty much find any band on Metal Archives, and it's got all the links and everything, so you can check everything else out. So that's an absolute lifesaver for me in terms of reviewing, especially with me. I review a lot of underground stuff. It's really good to kind of have a tool like that you can just casually in 5 minutes you can have like Facebook, Bandcamp, the website, the management, like stuff like who the label are, all the details for the label, all the like a concise history of all the members, like the track listing for the new album, just all there at your fingertips, and you all have that in 5 minutes to type up. And yeah, so that I guess is it really. It's been nearly half an hour as this been video, so if you've made it to the end, I guess you've got a lot more patience than me, like I often say. Um, but I'd definitely say Lottie has her own YouTube channel, so I would definitely advise checking that out because she's recording. She does a lot better recording videos than me. She's a lot more coherent. There's better quality videos. I'm just filming on a crappy web camera, but she's obviously got you'll get better quality videos out of her and the more eloquent than anything that I could possibly say on camera. So I'll leave a link to her stuff in the description. Like I said, I'm going to do the Frozen Black one as soon as possible. Then there'll be a discussion about the US black metal. I'm going to do a discussion video about the US black metal scene from the beginning to now, and then discuss whether the scene at the moment in the US can be considered the third wave. And other than that, I've got a lot of stuff planned, but once I've moved, hopefully I'll make a point of doing a few more. So, like I said, thank you for watching, and hope, like I said, if you're a music journalist yourself, if you've got any comments to add that you think I might have missed, put them in the comments, because obviously this is for research purposes for what Lottie's doing. So obviously if she reads the comments, it could really it'd be all the help. So, but like I said, thank you for watching, and I'll see you not in the not too distant future, hopefully.